Welcome back to Wellness Wave Radio. Thanks for tuning in this morning to ride the wave with us. Each week our goal is to give you at least one suggestion that will make your life a little better. My name is Phil George. I'm a clinical biochemist, certified personal trainer, and a health coach. Please remember, everything we discuss on the show is for informational purposes only and should not be taken as medical advice. Always seek the guidance of your medical professional. So we got actually two good suggestions for you today that hopefully will help you out. And one of them came at the last minute. I was sitting down and speaking to the station manager, Art, and actually my wife has this problem too. And I had this problem about a year ago. It's something called eye floaters, and that's where you're looking out and all of a sudden these things are floating in front of you. It's really common. And when I have an annual appointment at the ophthalmologist, to check my eyes, and I went and I asked him, I said, "Is there anything you can do about that?" And he said, "No." And I think if you talk to most ophthalmologists, they're going to tell you no also. But I'm here to tell you that's not the case. I'm not an ophthalmologist, but I've experimented with this, and I'm a biochemist. I want to know mechanism of action. I want to know why things happen and how they happen. So that's the whole thing. So a little bit of ophthalmology, a little bit of biochemistry of the ophthalmology. And one of the things inside of your eye, obviously, you have a lot of fluid, and that's called the vitreous fluid. And so it's fluid. But also coating the inside of the eyes is also, you have something called collagen. Collagen is the most ubiquitous protein in your body, so it's everywhere, and it's also over there in your eyes. And what happens as you get older, that collagen, and again, if you've ever seen collagen, it's like a powder. And if you put it in fact, I put it in my wife's coffee every morning, and if it doesn't dissolve enough, it'll float. You'll get little floaters, and that's where the floaters come from. So what happens is, you probably heard of coagulation, things come together. So what happens sometimes as you get older, that collagen will coagulate, come together, the strands will come together, and instead of staying dissolved in there, it'll basically come together. And that's just seeing these little strands inside of there floating around, and it's very annoying. What I was told by my ophthalmologist, if I see any flashes, that could be really dangerous. That's a sign of a retinal detachment. It's detaching. Got to go in. They got to do something right away. But floaters are really common. My wife, maybe about 2 or 3 weeks ago, was saying, "I'm starting to get the floaters. What should I be taking?" So there is an enzyme. It's actually called a proteolytic enzyme, and all a proteolytic enzyme means is it's something that dissolves protein. It's a proteolytic enzyme. Good example. Basically what happens. You release something called a lipase from one of your organs. That what it does is it dissolves protein. So what bromelain does, it dissolves protein, and bromelain is found in pineapple. So that's one of the natural ingredients. However, the problem with eating a lot of pineapple, it has a lot of fructose in it, which is a lot of sugar, and you don't want to be having a lot of sugar. So I have what I started taking was bromelain capsules. Before I go on with this any further, you've got to be really careful where you get your supplements from. Most supplements are made in India and China. They have no quality control. You don't know what you're getting. So I have a trusted source. So if you want to know a trusted source to get the bromelain from, email me, philgeorge@charter.net. I'll send that over to you, along with the other enzyme I'm going to suggest in a couple of minutes. But you probably can get them both together. So what you want to do with the bromelain, you can take that throughout the day. And I started doing that. This is maybe about a year ago, and all of my floaters went away. So it worked for me. And again, there's science behind this. What it does is it breaks it up, and it redissolves it inside of the vitreous fluid inside of your eyes. So if you want to try that, if you're getting the floaters, you may want to try this bromelain. Again, it's easier to take. The other thing, driving in right now, I was hearing this is beginning of allergy season. A lot of people have allergies this time of year because spring's coming and the flowers are blooming, and people come down with runny nose, runny eyes, and things like that. So the problem is caused by something called mast cells. So inside your body you have something called mast cells, and what mast cells are known for is to release a histamine. So histamine, all it is, your runny eyes, runny nose, that's histamine. What that is, these mast cells see this pollen. They see it as called an antigen or an invader. They don't recognize it. So they want to do is they want to maintain it. So they release histine that goes around it, but unfortunately it gets into your eyes and your nose. When I was a kid, I had allergy this times of year. That was no, I had it in the fall. My allergy was in the fall to ragweed and goldenrod. And it was so bad when I was little. My mother used to have to put salt packs over my eyes. My eyes would actually had so much histamine in my eyes. My eyes shut were closed shut, and I couldn't open them. So people can have it pretty bad. One of the things you can do in terms of for allergies, there's a supplement. It's called quercetin. Quercetin is a very strong antihistamine and also anti-inflammatory. And again, that's something that's easy to get. So if you're having allergies right now, you may want to look into trying the quercetin. Quercetin will help alleviate all of that histamine and all the itchy nose and the stuff like that you're having with that. So those are the two things you can try, and hopefully that'll help you. It's helped me. Definitely with the floaters. My floaters are really gone. I have no floaters at all. In fact, I'm not even taking that much bromelain. I take proteolytic enzymes anyway to digest food. So probably the proteolytic enzymes is what's actually is actually keeping it at bay. So I'm having no more problems with that. So anybody with that, again, email me, philgeorge@charter.net. I can send you over studies on this. And again, be careful where you get it from. I have a trusted source where I get this from. The quality control. They make sure make sure that they do take care of it. I did a big seminar. Kelly Hamilton, ICU nurse and a holistic nutritionist. We kind of work together on a lot of stuff, and we do seminars at the Greendale Y. In fact, we have another seminar coming up. We just did one this past Sunday on healthy aging, and which is what things that I'm going to kind of cover a little bit of that we covered on the seminar. But the other thing, what we found is, again, with healthy aging, is that you need strong muscles. That's one of the things that we covered a lot in that, because as people get older, they develop a condition called sarcopenia, and all sarcopenia means it's kind of a wasting away of the muscles, where your muscles get weaker and weaker. They actually did a really interesting study, and when I do these seminars, we kind of run like a game show. So we ask questions, and we actually have a big prize wall. And we give out coins, so you raise your hand, you get the correct answer, you get a coin. Whoever gets the most coins gets to pick from the prize wall. We have all kinds of prizes. We have people donating things. We have acupuncturists. We have gym memberships, all kinds of stuff. People donate prizes. We also have different things that we give away. So it's not only a seminar, so hopefully you learn something. We try to keep it very entertaining. So by asking questions, people get involved. We have actually a lot of clinicians, a lot of medical professionals that go to this because they know me from the radio show and the TV show. We've got Dr. Emily. She's a PhD, holistic nurse. We've got engineers in there. We've got a lot of different people that are specialized. So we draw from a large group. We got engineers in there. So we have a lot of professionals. But the majority of people are lay people. They're just trying to learn a little bit about the biochemistry. So we try to make it. I think it is entertaining if you check it out. We're going to be on YouTube. We videotape this and we throw it on YouTube, so you can probably check that out. But I think it's a lot more fun if you just show up in person. So going back to the sarcopenia. So when I ask people at these seminars, why do you think is the reason that most people fall down and break their hip? And almost everybody says that they lose their balance. That is part of it. That's something called proprioception. All proprioception means is you know where you are in space. In other words, your brain can figure out where you are, so it can keep you stand up. But sometimes that doesn't work really well, and you may wind up falling down due to that. But the main reason that people fall down, they've done studies on this. If you guys remember, marionettes like Pinocchio, where they have strings on them and they hold them up. Well, they did the same thing with these older people, and they put them in a room and they had these strings on them so they wouldn't fall down. But they had all of these sensors on them to where they could see what was going on. So as they're walking along, they would just pull up a tile and cause the person, to trip. But they didn't fall down because they had the wires holding them up. Well, what they found out, it wasn't so much that they lost their balance. That was a little bit of it. It was mostly because their muscles were too weak to hold them up. So if you ever had a case where you maybe had a rug like this and was kind of up a little bit and you kind of just caught your foot on it, but you were strong enough to hold you up, or you just hit something the wrong way. So if your muscles are too weak and it can't hold you up, that's obviously a big problem, and that's why most people fall. The other thing, when you fall, a lot of people, especially women, they wind up breaking their hip and things like that. So that's one of the big problems that you're having in terms of your muscles are just too weak. So we talked about a lot of different exercises to do this. In fact, Art and I were just talking about, we're going to do a whole show on just exercises you can do at home. I like to call them exercise snacks, and we had the people do it, and it's really easy. I'll cover some of those just a little bit later on. But the other big problem is as people get older, they develop something called anabolic resistance. Now, all that means your body can only be in one of two states. One of them is called anabolism, like anabolic steroids, like bodybuilders, they take these anabolic steroids and they get big muscles. The other one is catabolism. That's where your body is breaking down. You're either in one state or the other. You can't be in both states at the same time. But what happens is when you're younger, when you try to build muscle and eat protein, your muscles are very receptive to that. The receptors, you've probably heard of insulin resistance. So it's just the opposite. So the protein is very sensitive, and the cells will take it in, no problem. The other thing is with protein, the same thing. It's going to absorb the protein like crazy, no problem. But as you age, you develop something called anabolic resistance. It's just like insulin resistance, where your body doesn't quite take the protein in as much. And when you exercise, you don't get quite as big. You have to exercise a little bit more. So that's one of the downsides of aging. But what you can do with that is, in fact, you have to take the correct amount of protein, and that's huge. In fact, people as they age need more protein than a bodybuilder does. Because remember, the bodybuilder has that anabolic sensitivity, and we have that anabolic resistance. So you have to take in an awful lot of protein. The problem with this is most people get very, very confused with protein. They see 100 grams of protein in this particular thing, and they see 100 grams of protein in this particular thing, and they think it's the same. It's not. Protein, there's different proteins. So proteins are made up of what's called amino acids. So there's different types of amino acids. There's something called essential amino acids, or EAA. The essential amino acids are amino acids your body cannot make. You have to get it from the outside. Then there's something called non-essential amino acids, and all that means is the non-essential amino acids, that just means that your body can make them. They can take an amino acid from here and here, put it together, kind of like Lego blocks. They can put it together. So that's non-essential. Then there's something called conditional amino acids, and those amino acids that it's kind of in between the two. So the most important one you want is essential amino acids. A good example, there's something called it's called the DIAS score. That stands for digestible amino acid score. And they score, in other words, how well this does in terms of building muscle. So you can get these essential amino acids have a DIAS score of like 99 point something. In other words, all of it's getting absorbed into your body. The other ones have a much lower score. Normally, plant proteins do not work very well for this because they're not absorbed by the body. We're made of meat, so we're kind of used to meat. Now, you can still, if you're a vegetarian, probably eggs are one of the perfect foods. And I know vegetarians can eat eggs, but vegans can't. So we've got to be careful where you're getting the protein from. So even though you're seeing 100 grams of protein from here and 100 grams of protein from here, this particular source of protein could be 100% absorbable, and this could be only 50 or 40% absorbable. So again, feel free to email me, phil@georgecharter.net. So what I do, now I go to the gym 5 days a week, and before I go to the gym, you can get it in a powder or you can get it in a pill. I take 6 of these essential amino acid pills, and all of these amino acids will basically go directly into my body. After I go to the gym, I go to bed at night, take 6 more of these before I go to bed. So my body, when it's in that anabolic state, when it's growing, it doesn't do any good to stress your muscles if you don't have anything to rebuild the protein with. Because when you go to the gym, you don't build the muscle in the gym, you build the muscle when you're sleeping. I'll get into that in a second. What happens when you go to the gym, you're actually breaking muscle fibers. So nothing's growing, you're actually breaking it. But what happens when you go to sleep, if you have the correct amount of protein when you go to sleep, what happens, the protein while you're sleeping, during deep sleep, what it'll do, you release something called human growth hormone, which means obviously it does what it says it does. It grows the protein, and testosterone. And even women have testosterone. Those things, what it does then, it has the breaks in the muscles, you know, we exercise, and it takes the protein and it puts it in there and it repairs it. So the reason people get large muscles is what happens, you keep breaking it, and you form another layer of called sarcomeres on top of it. So it gets bigger and bigger. That's why these guys got big muscles, is because they're breaking them, but they're taking in the correct amount of protein to repair it. So again, you got to be careful where you get your protein from. A lot of it, some of this protein have lead in it and stuff. You got to be careful. You got to again, email me, because I get it from a clean source. They check on it and make sure that there's no bad stuff, and you get the correct amount. I've worked with bodybuilders before, mostly to do with the nutrition, because these guys pretty much got their, you know, these guys are huge to begin with, and you know, they have. I am a trainer, but these guys are dialed in. They know what they're doing. I had one guy, this a big black guy. This guy was huge, you know, a monstrous guy, huge muscles and everything else, and he knew I was a biochemist, and actually he was also an engineer. He actually hired me to work with him just on his nutrition. Because the joke is among bodybuilders is they'll clear out an elevator because they're passing gas all the time. They get very gassy, and the reason is they're just taking all kinds of proteins from different sources. But remember the non-essential amino acids. If you can't use it, basically it turns into a waste product. This is a little bit into the biochemistry of it. So what happens is an amino acid is very similar to a carbohydrate. It still has a carbon and a hydrogen backbone to it, but it has something called an amine group, which is an NH2 group, which is nitrogen and two hydrogens, and it goes off to the side. I probably should have these little blocks I could show you. It's off to the side. What happens is if your body takes in that particular amino acid and it can't use it, it has to get rid of it. So what it has what they call, it deanimates it. It breaks off the NH2 group, and it goes off. The NH2 group gets another hydrogen, so NH2 plus hydrogen is NH3, and that's ammonia. Ammonia, you don't want a lot of ammonia in your body. It also breaks down into creatine and also into BUN, blood urea nitrogen. And that can cause, it's a lot of gas, it's a lot of waste product inside of your body. That's what's causing the gas with these bodybuilders, because they're taking in all this protein, but it's not essential amino acids. It's protein that your body just can't use. So that's why, and the other thing, just from a economic standpoint, why would you spend money on a protein that you just can't use? It's going to just turn it into waste products. The other problem, you may have heard this, they say too much protein can cause damage to your kidneys. That's true if it's the wrong kind of protein. If your body uses it, the essential amino acids, you're not going to release a lot of waste product. So you've got to be really, really careful of where you're getting your protein from. Again, you can email me, philgeorge@charter.net. I'll send you the stuff that I have. And that way, if you're looking to get rid of the sarcopenia, the wasting away of the muscles, that's one way. That's one way to do it. The other thing we talked about at the seminar is it's very important to have what they call community. They've done studies, and I had it on the slide. They've done studies. You being isolated, not being part of a community, is like smoking like 10 cigarettes a day. It really decreases your life expectancy. So another thing, another one of my sidelines is something called evolutionary biology. So again, as a biochemist, as an evolutionary biologist, I want to know why these things happen. Why do we get so messed up if we're isolated? So we shared 99% of our DNA with a chimpanzee. And chimpanzee, they exist in groups of 10 to 15. That's about the right size. Going back to the Neanderthal days, we existed in groups of 10 to 15 people. So what I did is I got a little picture I showed people, but if you can imagine that you're a chimpanzee and you're over there, you're eating your banana and you're happy, and all of a sudden a big leopard comes and sees you. He sees a nice big meal. You, the chimpanzee, is being his meal. Now, you only got two choices. There's no way you're going to fight off a giant leopard with just you. So you're either going to try to run away, climb the tree, or if you can't get away, you're going to have to try to fight this leopard. The odds are not good you're going to win this fight. However, if all of a sudden you're sitting there and the leopard's coming and all your friends, the other 10 or 15 chimpanzees behind you, they come, they're going to stand in front of you, the leopard's running away. There's no way a leopard can beat 10 or 15 chimpanzees. If you ever see the canine teeth on these chimpanzees, they're huge. So in a group, they're very, very safe. With us, we're kind of the same way. If you can imagine us back to the Neanderthal days, and we have the saber-toothed tiger, and you're in the Neanderthal days, you're the human, and it's coming after you, you got no chance, okay? Because you're probably not even as fast as a chimpanzee. But if all of your fellow tribe members come behind you, and they get their spears and everything else for the leopard's running away. So it's hardwired onto us. We feel safer in groups. So you don't really know why you feel safer, but you feel safer. This goes back millions of years. With this, our evolution, we're hardwired to feel safer in groups. Again, you're stronger as a group than you are as an individual. So that's the reason why that they found that people, as they get older, they wind up just, also, if you're with people, what happens is you're talking all the time. Your brain's got, use it or lose it with the brain. So you're interacting with people. That's why it's really important to be in a community. Community is really, really important. What I like to do is, like I mentioned, I go to the gym 5 days a week. The only reason I don't go Saturday and Sunday because I've got my radio show, and plus it's probably good to take a couple of days off. Probably not good to go to the gym every day. But one thing I noticed in the gym, I have a lot of friends at the gym. So a lot of times what I'll do is I'll go in, I'll just spend a lot of time just talking to people about various things. And again, I get the socialization out of it. The other thing, what I really like about the job that I do in terms of, just being Wellness Wave, broadcaster, is I get a chance to meet a lot of really, really smart people, a lot of PhDs. I got Dr. Eddie Arus from the Vascular Care Group on my show. I've got all kinds of doctors, every imaginable. So I get a chance to basically talk to these people and ask them questions and get information and go back and forth. So that's making my brain work all the time. The other thing is when I do seminars, I do slideshows. So like the next slideshow is going to be the first Sunday, it's going to be on sleep, the first Sunday in May. If you want to come down, Greendale Y at noontime, email me, philgeorgecharter.net. I'll give you directions. And so I know most of this stuff because I've just been doing this so long. And I get up every morning, I look at the latest research papers, so I kind of know this stuff anyway. But I have to take a deeper dive into it. So I make slides up, and they say actually the best way to learn something is to teach it. So the other thing I'm looking at is by me teaching it to people, I have to know it even better. Plus, the people in the group, they're asking me questions, things like that. So again, it gets my brain working all the time because I'm always thinking about health, nutrition, and things like that. The other thing I wanted to mention, again, with the sarcopenia and wasting away the muscles. So I was at the gym maybe about a month ago, and I got a friend there. He's probably almost going on 90. He's a big tennis player. He's at the gym all the time, and he's got his aches and pains here and there, but he's doing all the stuff. And of course, he knows I'm a biochemist and I'm a trainer, so he asks me questions when he has problems. And one of the things, he asked me, he said, geez, I'm having a lot of back problems now. I just can't, it's really bothering me. I'm having trouble playing tennis. So my suggestion to him and my suggestion to you is there's something called a plank. And a plank is, I'm not going to demonstrate it here, but you can email me, philgeorgecharter.net. A plank is where you kind of just go straight out like a plank, your arms are down. And they found out that's really the best exercise for supporting your back. Because when I work with clients, most clients, they have back problems. The problem is not really with their back. The problem is their core muscles are too weak to hold them up. So the problem is with that is that if you could remember a skeleton, all the skeleton is bones and discs. If you don't have enough core muscles to hold up your spine, what happens, all the pressure goes on your spine and you develop spine problems. So you want to develop a strong core. So there's a guy, his name is Stu McGill, and the name of his exercises is the McGill Big Three. Again, you can email me, I'll send you videos on this. And you can do this, you don't have to belong to a gym. In fact, Art was talking about that, maybe his wife doesn't like going to the gym. You can do this at home. So I showed my friend Marty, I said, this is how you do the plank, and I watched him to make sure he was flat. You need somebody to watch and make sure that your rump's not up in the air, or that you are flat. And it's a really good exercise to work your core. You don't have to belong to a gym. And so what Marty was telling me, he would do it at the gym, because he's at the gym anyway. Then he would do it 2 or 3 times throughout the day. Every few hours or so, he'd do the plank. And I showed him something to do air squats, another thing he did. He did that on a regular basis. And a couple of weeks ago, I said, Marty, how's the plank going? He says, my back problems are gone. I'd love to have him on the show. In fact, I had to come on the show, and so he would tell you that's what it is. But if you're having back problems, the more than likely, not all the time, but more than likely, it could just be a problem that your core is too weak. So I have something called exercise snacks. One of them is air squats. And when I had Amy, the occupational therapist, on the show a couple of weeks ago, we kind of did it together, and she knew about that. There's something else called a soleus exercise. You do with your soleus muscle. And again, I can show you that maybe at a different time. Can you email me? I can show you these. So these are the things I did with the people that were in the seminar on Sunday. We had them all do these particular exercises so they could see what to do. And again, you don't have to belong to a gym. But what's interesting about it is what they found is doing these exercises, you're going to stay in that anabolic, that building state for anywhere between 2 and 3 hours. Even doing just those simple things, it activates your muscles in terms of staying in that growing mode for a long time. So if you did this every 3 hours or so, maybe three or 4 times a day, the plank, the air squats and the rest of that, you don't have to go to the gym because you're in that anabolic state, that muscle growing state all the time. So this is one, again, it's a great way of doing it to help your back problems and stuff like that. To mention, so I am a personal trainer, but we also, what I do is I will offer you one free consult. So hopefully, obviously, you see the value in it, you'll hire me, but if you don't hire me, no hard feelings. But I'll sit down and look at your lab work, I'll look at that, I can show you some of these exercises. So in other words, you don't have to do shopping all over the place. You don't have to go to a trainer and to a nutritionist. I'm kind of one-stop shopping. I can do the nutrition. I can cover pretty much all the bases and things like that. And I also have access to a lot of medical professionals that if I can't help you, I have other medical professionals I know personally that can help you. And I also kind of vet them. I know them. So I'm not going to recommend anybody that I wouldn't use myself or have my family use. So there's a lot of different ways, we can help you depending on, and everybody's different. In other words, we all have different genes and things like that. So being a clinical biochemist, my main focus, and I train medical students on this, is lab work. So unfortunately, a lot of doctors will not order the correct lab work for you. They'll just order, just a standard panel. But you really need to know exactly, what kind of lab work, you need done. And I can help you with that. I can also look at your lab work and interpret it for you and sit down. A lot of times they'll want to put you on a statin right away, and maybe you don't really need a statin. I can go over that with you, and then you can make the decision. Do you want to go on the statin? Don't you want to go on the statin? A lot of clients I meet, they wind up not going on the statin because I can find different ways. I can find different ways to help you. So we're coming up to the end of the show. If you have any questions, email me, philgeorge@charter.net. And again, with the seminar this coming Sunday, Kelly Hamilton and myself will be doing the seminar. Love to have you come down, get a chance to win prizes. It's a lot of fun. And a chance to meet you guys in person. And then if you have any questions for me at the end, we hang around, we answer questions at the end. I get a chance to meet a lot of other medical professionals who will be in the audience. So if you have questions for them, Dr. Emily will be on there. So thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next week. One of the most common questions I'm asked as a biochemist and health coach is, what are the best supplements to take? Choosing supplements is a tricky business. Many companies have poor quality control and questionable ingredients. In the past, I had to send clients to several different websites. I am now able to offer one-stop shopping for all the quality brands I recommend with no shipping cost and a lower price in most cases. Just email me, philgeorge@charter.net, for a free consult.